this roll of film, and it turns the actors into the living dead. It has the power to suck the souls out of everyone in its vicinity.
We can stop them from spreading.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2023 horror comedy Zombie Town. The film is co-written and directed by Peter Lepiniaitis, and it stars Marlon Cazade, Maddie Monroe, Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase. Right, the film focuses on like a small American town, and in this town lives a very famous horror director, Len Carver, played by Dan Aykroyd. Now, many years ago, he made what many believe to be like, the most definitive horror films, stroke zombie films put to screen, and then he retired suddenly. Well, after 30 years or something like that, he is doing one more movie, and the town is stupidly excited about this, and he's going to show the premiere at the local cinema. However, two local teens, Mike and Amy, decide to have an early showing because Mike works at the cinema as a projectionist, and his friend Amy, who he's very interested in, is desperate to watch the film, so he gives her a private screening of the film. However, it turns out to be not the film itself, but some kind of spell that turns the whole town into zombies apart from a select few, i.e. Mike, Amy and Len Carver. It's up to them then to stop this zombie apocalypse from spreading and return the town to its former state. Right, what are my thoughts on Zombie Town? I was immediately drawn to this, really, for two reasons. Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd. Now, if you're drawn to this film for that reason as well, I'll try and let you down gently. Chevy Chase is barely in it. And Dan Aykroyd is probably a little bit more than a glorified cameo. He is in it a decent amount, but he isn't the star of the film. The star of this film, or the people that, are the main characters in this film, are Mike and Amy, played by Marlon Cazade and Maddie Monroe. So take that, take it how you like, if you like, in regards to that. This film is, it feels like a kid's film. It feels like a Nickelodeon film. Nickelodeon, when they, I don't know if they still do, I know when my son was younger, they used to kind of put out like these kiddified horror films that he used to quite enjoy. It feels like that, with maybe a slightly bit more polish. I wouldn't describe this as a bad film. I have seen some fairly cruel reviews for this. I would kind of describe this as a pretty tame and quite frustrating film. But there are elements here that make it not a disaster, I suppose. For example, as I've mentioned, the polish of the film, it does feel quite nicely polished, nice and colourful, and the effects actually are quite impressive. However, if you're going into this film wanting to see zombies tearing people limb from limb, you are going to be desperately disappointed, because these are like the tamest, gentlest zombies known to man. They don't eat your brains or anything like that. No, they suck your souls. So, if you're going to get, zombified, I suppose, with this movie, what they do is they grab you, there's like this strange effect with their eyes and the mouth, and then they suck your soul out, and then you are then a zombie. The effects for that are quite good, actually, but these are zombies, for goodness sake. I know they're making, an entry-level zombie film, I suppose, and that's exactly what this is. If you've got, young'uns that don't scare particularly easily, and you don't obviously want to start them off with Day of the Dead and things, this would be a nice entry level for the whole family, like a Halloween night or something like that. For anybody else, you're going to be scratching your head as to the point of this film. Now, it is obviously based on the R.L. Stiles books, apparently. And now, if you don't know who that is, that's the guy who wrote like the Goosebumps books and things like that. So he's quite a renowned horror novelist in the US in particular. So it does kind of have that Goosebumps feel about it. You know, like I say, entry-level horror, I suppose. But for me, there was too much wrong with this film to really garner any real genuine enjoyment from it. A lot of the characters in the film just felt like cartoon characters or caricatures, like the teacher, for example. You know, like the nasty teacher that's horrible to Mike. You know, she doesn't feel like a real person. And I get it, that's the point, but it doesn't, you know, help make the film feel grounded in any way. The film's not funny, and it's supposed to be a comedy. I don't recall, I'm trying to think if I laughed at anything in this film, or even giggled. And I was struggling, so that probably means no. And if I did, it may have been like something I can't remember, put it that way. And a lot of characters I didn't like. And there's genuine reasons for not liking these characters. For example, Amy manipulates Mike into showing her this film because she knows that he's interested in her, and she basically threatens him, saying, look, if you don't show me this film, I'm going to go to this party where this other lad's interested in me. And you're kind of like, really? And then you think that's bad, and then Mike, who constantly says to everybody that he hates zombie films and he hates this town. So when the town becomes zombified, he decides the best course of action is to just bugger off and leave the town in the state it's in. His mother lives in this town. You know, probably some of his friends, even though we don't meet many of them in the film, because he seems to be like, you know, the kid that gets bullied sort of thing. So, you know, because of that reason, he doesn't like zombie films. He doesn't like this town because they like zombie films and he doesn't, and he gets bullied a bit. He decides he's going to bugger off and leave him to it. And Amy kind of talks him round, and then later in the film, he does it again. He literally buggers off then. And you're just kind of like, number one rule, don't make your character A, a coward, and B, massively unlikable. And they kind of do that with both these characters. They do redeem themselves by the end of the film, but it doesn't help, you know, in regards to establishing a relationship with them to start with. And Dan Aykroyd's character, Len Carver, even though Dan Aykroyd tries to play him with, you know, plenty of charisma and stuff, you got to question this guy's moral motivations. He wants to turn the town into zombies on purpose, and I don't want to spoil it in case you want to watch this film, but the film explains how, you know what I mean? But you're just kind of thinking, hang on a minute, there's nobody in this film making moral decisions for the right reasons. They're just all kind of, you know, a bit manipulative and a bit horrible, a lot of these characters. So it's very hard to connect with any of these characters, really, is what I'm trying to say. And then you've got zombies in this. It's one of those films where you've got zombies that, you know, are driving cars, and it's just like, really? And you've got, like, you know, a zombie driving along in a car, having to slam the brakes on because there's a zombie with a pushchair, and the zombie kind of gives him a telling off sort of thing. It just kind of like, now that was supposed to be a gag, but it's genuinely, you know, about as funny as a kick in the nads. So, while I don't think this film is a disaster, it's a well-made film, and, you know, there are some fun moments here and there in it. And like I say, as an entry-level film for, you know, a young audience, it's actually okay in that sense. But for anybody else going into this film thinking you're going to get, like, a really fun zombie film, you're probably going to be fairly disappointed. It is. I didn't expect this to be a masterpiece or anything. I was just hoping, you know, for it to roll back the years a little bit, to have a bit of Chevy Chase in it, a bit of classic Dan Aykroyd in it, and a fun zombie tale. You know, you expect that from RL style. And you don't really get that. It's very middling at best. But yeah, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this film, and I will of course be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.